Good morning and welcome. In the series of achieving sustainable development goals and going to moon, Mars and beyond, we are at the stage of SDG 17 now. What does it talks about? Welcome boys and girls. It talks about strong global partnership for achieving SDG, and then we are going to discuss about what are the problems that have been either created, were existing or have been aggravated with the pandemic. Because of the pandemic they got accelerated, and then how to go to moon, Mars and beyond, because by now you might have understood that if we have the stable platform, the maintenance of mother earth, then we can also go to any other place and we can maintain that dimension, moon, Mars or beyond. Okay, so what does SDG 17 talks about? It talks about partnership among all the humans for the human cause, human welfare, all biodiversity, the environment, everything is taken care on the mother earth. Strengthen the process of implementation of sustainable goals. Now this needs strengthen the process of implementation of mother earth. We have to build a strong system, strong partnership among all the nations. We are united, we are not divided. Unity is strength. Together we achieve more. That's all this goal talks about. Now, as usual, we'll talk about problems existed, aggravated during the pandemic on achieving SDG 17. As per the OECD website, the official development assistance, that is the official development assistance, the rich country providing to the poor countries or developing countries. It is a gold standard since 1969 as a foreign aid for the developing countries and for the economic development and the welfare, that to on concessional basis. Its data shows that it has increased and reached USD 161 billion in 2020. It represents 0.32% of their GNI, gross national income, not GDP, gross national income, coming from all the sources, from all the countries. If that US based companies are working elsewhere, but still their profit is coming to them, and then I hope you understand the gross national income. Out of that, 0.7% should go to as a form of a ODA. It is a grant equivalent as a percentage it is calculated. So at present it is 161% billion. It means it is only 0.32% of GNI. It is not even pre-decided. They have decided that 0.7% of GNI, that is ODA grant equivalent as a percentage, should go to developing and the least developed countries. Now imagine if out of $100, $0.7, not even $1, $0.7 of GNI should go to help these countries. They have not reached that level, only 0.32. It means 30 cents out of 100 cents of whatever their GNI is going for these states, developing states. Okay. It means that it should have been USD 350 billion almost that developed countries should have spent as official development assistance. That is what ODA it is called as, to the developing countries as per the 0.7% of GNI. Okay, that I already told you. Now in 2020, remittance from the rich countries where the people are working there and sending back to their own countries, to the, as I told you, to the family, has reached 540 billion in the low and middle income countries. It went down by 2% from 2019, okay, because of pandemic. In pandemic, 3.7 billion people didn't have connectivity in spite of it was needed because for their schools of the children and all those activities. But it means that 3.7, almost half, 50% of the global population don't have the connectivity, and they cannot either afford the cell phones, the mobile phones, or whatever it may be, or they don't have the connectivity So it requires a lot of investment even today. Foreign direct investment FDI decreased by 40%. It was USD 1.5 trillion in 2019 and it went down to almost less than 1 trillion USD. Okay, beta. Foreign direct investment decreased by 40%. It was 1.5 trillion in 2019 and it has come down to less than 1 trillion. Straight sentence. Now, 63% of countries don't have enough funds to face challenges posted by pandemic. 63% countries. So they require a lot of funds to come out of pandemic. I have a suggestion over here. There are huge budgets for weapons of mass destruction which were never used till now. This point I have raised since 2004 for almost 20 times. I talked about 100 years war between Britain and France and how 100 years peace should be there. At the same time, I use these weapons of mass destruction which are never used. Only for the deterrence they are kept. Why can't half of them be that fund going to weapons of mass destruction be diverted to this side? For the cause of SDG and then going to moon, Mars and beyond. You see, the same ballistic missile which is traveling 15,000 kilometers, if modified, can go to moon, straight away. Simple, a child also can say. Now there are 8,000, 6,000, 10,000. This is nonsense. One ballistic missile is supposed 10 meters long. Let us build 100 meters long rocket. Out of this 1,000, somebody said, and put same fuel into that, and let us go to moon or Mars or beyond. Kids have different ideas. Simple. So that's one of the best solution. In fact, again, within 30 seconds, I quote the same sentence which I spoken on 22nd March 2019 when the pandemic lockdown was there, that if in this lockdown we sign an agreement of forever peace and let us plan for going to moon, Mars and beyond, we'll be called really human. And when even after that was not done, within coming 3 days or a week, I said, you may hang my carcasses, but we will say that we have lost the best opportunity for establishing human base on moon, Mars and beyond and achieving sustainable development goals on Mother Earth. Now you can find in many of my interviews all these things. Let us go to targets and indicators. Target 17.1, this target discusses about domestically making the economy strong. Market should be very strong, economy should be very strong. If required, collaborate internationally. Okay? Collaborate internationally. If required, developed nations should come forward to help developing nations. Obviously, improving domestic tax collection should increase. Every country should increase its domestic tax collection. Then for that purpose, what is required? It requires improved possibility for revenue generations. Thus, creating jobs and entrepreneurship avenues and increasing individuals and businesses to give away tax. Institutions also, organizations should also be developed. That kind of environment, ecology should be developed for the business environment, for doing the job, for education, and flourishing everything. So we do not want wars with weapons of mass destruction, but we want welfare, simply. What is the indicator? 17.1, total government revenue generated upon GDP. What is the revenue generated upon the GDP? Because the more tax they collect, the more revenue they will have. It is not only revenue, coming from the tax. There are many other sources as well to collect the revenue. Indicator 17.2, proportion of domestic budget funded by domestic taxes. Okay, proportion, how much tax is collected out of that GDP, and how much budget was planned and how much these are. Target 17.2, with official development assistance, already we have seen commitment to development countries, developed countries should help all the developed nations should help 0.7% of GNI, gross national income, as official development assistance to the developing countries, with target of 0.7 of the ODI per GNI. Okay, official development assistance by GNI, gross national income, 0.7%. Right now it is 0.32%. We already saw. Okay, all developed nations should devote their 0.15 to 0.2 gross national income to the least developed countries as official development assistance, 0.15 to 0.20. Okay, now what are the indicators? Indicators 17.2.1, as per the Organization for Economic Cooperation for Development, OECD. Okay, proportion of ODI by GNI to the developing nations by donor country by net assistance to particular country. Now ODI by GNI we have seen. The donor country net assistance to India is $100 million. Out of that, USA has donated 10 million. Simple. Or 10%, 1%. You may, for the good humanitarian cause only you are doing this. Then total ODA by the Developing Assistance Committee, donors GNI, total ODA to least developed countries by Development Assistance Committee, donors GNI. There are so many other, proportions and ratios are there. First is proportion of ODA by GNI, second is proportion of ODA by GNI by the country, then particular country, then total ODA to developing countries by donors GNI, developing countries, and then last is least developed countries. So that you can find it in the notes given below the either the video or in the article. Target 17.3, mobilizing additional financial resources for developing countries from multiple sources. Okay, indicator 17.3.1 is FDI, how much is foreign direct investment. Then another ways are there: South-South cooperation, South-South, then North-North cooperation, then North-South cooperation, all these things are there. Then as ODA by GNI to produce the best practices among the best practice among the developing nations. Now indicator 17.3.2, remittance in USD by GDP in that country. For example, 1 year it was $70 billion. Out of GDP, suppose $2 trillion in India, something like that. Target 17.4, avoiding, relieving the poor countries falling into debt trap and taking appropriate measures for that. Straight away, suppose I become poor, somebody gives me 100 rupees or $100 and then I cannot pay back. So you will have to work that, no, Ashish is our good friend. He should not get, debt trap. So you will work how to bring him out of that debt trap. Something like that, going to the much higher level for the country. Indicator 17.4.1, debt services as a proportion of export of goods and services. Okay, so consider it. Target 17.5, adopt and implement investment proportion regimes for least developed countries. Okay, for least developed countries, adopt a proportion of regime. Indicator 17.5.1, number of countries that adopt and implement investment promotion regime for developing countries, including least developed countries. And in fact, 39 out of 48 that is 81% of least developed countries have investment agencies promotion agencies working full time since 2014 as per the UNCTAD UNCTAD. In some countries, even special economic zones have been created where one stop, one window, everything is done. So only 39, so it has to increase in fact. Target 17.6, enhancing north-south, south-south, triangular regional, and international cooperation on science and technology, knowledge on mutually share agreements and mechanism generated as per the UN chart. Okay, United Nations has created WIPO and all this. I hope you know IPR and all those things are there. Indicator 17.6.1, fixed internet broadband subscription per 100 inhabitants by speed. Are they getting the high speed internet connection or not? That is the indicator, and how many people are getting it. Target 17.7, promoting the development, transfer, dissemination and diffusion of environmentally sound technology to the developing and least developed countries on favorable, preferable terms and conditions and mutually agreed terms as per the regulations by United Nations. Straight away we'll speak in that way. Indicator 17.7.1, total amount of funding for developing countries to promote environmentally sound technology via transfer of technology, development of technology in those countries, dissemination of technology or diffusion of technology. Okay, target 17.8, keeping technology development at full speed, especially in the field of ICT, information and communication technology, and capacity building of least developed countries, and by fully operationalizing the tech bank and innovation. Technology bank, sometimes IPR should be, IPR should be there, but there, if you are charging more, then it should be reduced as a royalty or whatever it may be, so that least developed countries can get benefited from that. And best way is to cheaper technology. In fact, once I said, if all the countries have space age program, then we don't know from where the best ideas will come. Maybe a country least developed can generate such an idea that they will have the faster than the speed of light technology. What USA couldn't try, Russia couldn't try, India couldn't, try in the sense they couldn't go on that path. Oh, they said no, this path is okay, but we have already tried for 10 years and we failed, but they might be successful in 1 year and they can go ahead and they become successful. So we don't know from where the best ideas will come. And hence, another thing is we should not dump the technology in the form of IPR. That is also a thing. The technology which is used can get developed more. Okay. So indicator 17.8.1, proportion of individuals using the internet. At present, that is the only thing. In fact, this point can be expanded well, as I told. Target 17.9, for implementing all SDG capacity building of developing nations via cooperation from the now developing states are there, LCDs least developed LDCs are there, so they require cooperation, sometimes assistance, sometimes diffusion of technology, as we saw. Developing nations should cooperate. How? Via UN supported system, south-south, north-south, triangular way that we already talked. Indicator 17.9.1, dollar value of financial and technical assistance committed to developing countries via above mentioned mechanism. Simple. How much dollar invested? Target 17.10, promoting rules, regulations based legal, equitable, multilateral trading system to bring all nations at par under WTO via conclusions and negotiations as per the Doha Development Agenda. Now, all countries coming at par. People will say our dominations will go, these people will do this, our this will, I mean, nothing doing. Humanitarian equal ground. Some people may have better technologies, some may not have. Somebody may have, better human values, some may not have. I mean, it happens because values get degraded once you have power. It has been seen, or sometimes it may happen that values are not degraded even if they hold the power. Sometimes they have technology and they have degraded values, they can use the WMD if they have the power, and then if they don't have the values. So I mean, all kinds of people are there, but we have to balance everything and develop the business in such a way that all countries come at par and have achieve the sustainable development, not by 2030, because course correction might be required in during after the pandemic, maybe 2040, something like that. And as we have to go to moon, Mars and beyond with this same fantastically developed system, process, understanding on the Mother Earth, and then we are going there, that will be better. Simultaneously also we can go and use the best practices here and there, but if we can maintain Mother Earth better, we can maintain other dimensions better, that is for sure. So what is the indicator? Worldwide weighted tariff average. Weighted tariff average. If least developed countries are exporting to the developed nation, tariff charge should be less, so that they earn something. They raise their earning by exporting. Now, target 17.11, significantly increase the export from developing countries and doubling the export of least developed countries by 2030. By 2030, least developed countries should double their export. Simple. Indicator 17.11.1, developing countries export upon the total global export. Simple. And least developed countries export upon the total global export. Simple. Target 17.12, least developed countries and developing countries should face least barrier and should get quota-free, duty-free access into developed countries as per the guidelines of WTO. Okay, I already told about that. Indicator 17.12.1, weighted average tariff faced by. Weighted average means that in USA, so much USA face this tariff. For example, 10% tax in India. If they bring their products, 10% is charged, but when India export that, they will charge only 1%, so that they are allowed to earn. Simple. And you will say, is it fair? Now that's what we are trying to achieve, sustainable development goals. In simple, there are many countries which have taken advantage of that. India has never taken advantage of that. I'm not putting the side of India, but it is a reality. It is the most human country when it comes to United Nations. It has seen a lot of places, its peacekeeping forces and all those things. Okay, that is different issue. Now target 17.12, indicator 17.12.1 that we were seeing. Weighted average tariff faced by least developed countries, small island developing states, SIDS, and developing countries as well. So the pointer is there in fact. Now target 17.13, enhancing global microeconomic stability via macroeconomic stability, policy coordination and policy coherence. Coordinated policy should be there and coherence should be there. Everybody agrees on this, that sustainable development goals should be achieved. Then what can be done? Shake hands with each other. Together we achieve more. Team building, understanding, trust among each other, like that. Indicator macroeconomic dashboard. Example, now somebody said, what is the dashboard? Then I had showed him the, job macroeconomic data dashboard on the World Bank. And it saw that how much unemployment is there, how much is employment for, from which sector more employment is coming, and all details are there. It is a metadata, in fact. Okay. Now, target 17.14, enhance policy coherence for sustainable development. Already seen coherence. Everybody is talking and pitching in same language. Somebody doesn't say, no, I'm going that side, no, I'm going that side. No, everybody is on the path of the sustainable development. Indicator 17.14.1, number of countries with a mechanism in place to enhance policy coherence for sustainable development. Almost all the countries on that path. Coherence. Target 17.15, poverty reduction and SDG, and establishing multi-stakeholder partnership. Multi-stakeholder. World Bank is there, Indian banks are there, local banks are there, local private investors are there, public investors are there. I mean, so many. Out of 100% contribution for $100 billion, 1%, 2%, 10%, 0.1%, multiple people are coming together. Multiple stakeholders are there. Indicator 17.15.1, extent of use of country-owned results framework and planning tools by providers of development cooperation. Extent of tools that have been used and that have given the results. Target 17.16, enhancing global partnership for sustainable development complemented by multi-stakeholder partnership that mobilize the share of, mobilize and share the knowledge, the technology, the financial resources, the expertise, all these things. That kind of partnership is required. Sometimes, expert scientists are going and helping them. When the Finland reached 98% of literacy, I requested them to come to India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and help them to achieve their literacy rate. Knowledge sharing is also there. Then expertise already said. Indicator 17.6.1, number of countries out of 193 United Nations members in 2022 reporting progress in multi-stakeholder development effectiveness monitoring framework that support the achievement of SDG. Stakeholder development effectiveness monitoring framework. A framework is there. That framework tells how much we have achieved. Each pointer, you go to United Nations website, they have given how much, the pink mark, the saffron mark, the green mark is there. Go and check it. It's very interesting. Target 17.17 for infrastructure development, encouraging and promoting partnership among public-private, civil society by using partnership data, experience, by keeping track on the work via monitoring and accountability. Okay, indicator 17.17.1, amount of USD committed for public-private infrastructure partnership of the project. How much infrastructure has been developed, how much public and private property development is there for those infrastructure projects. Target 17.18, where we stand in SDG right now. This question requires data collection, and this pointer talks about, by 2020, least developed countries, small island state countries need a capacity building support to collect high quality, reliable and timely data. High quality data, reliable, trustworthy data should be there. About what? About income, gender, by age, by race, by ethnicity, by migratory status, by disability status, by graphical location, and there are several other relevant pointers and characters of every nation that has to be recorded. Last time we saw about how many birth certificates were given to the kids. They are born and they are given the birth certificate to their parents. So indicator 17.18.1, statistical capacity indicator for SDG monitoring. Statistical capacity. Indicator 17.18.2, number of countries that have national statistical legislation that complies with the fundamental principles of official statistics of United Nations. Indicator 17.8.18.3, number of countries that have national statistical plan that is fully funded and implemented by, and what is the source of the funding, public or private, or what exactly is going on. Target 17.19, by 2030 build on the prior work and develop measure of SDG that complement the GDP and support statistical capacity building in developing countries. Okay, so GDP and sustainable development goals should be aligned, go parallel, like railway lines. Indicator 17.19.1, dollar value spent on making all the resources available for statistical capacity building in developing countries. Simple. Indicator 17.19.2, proportion of countries that have following record register on time. Again, that point has come. 100% births should be recorded. To start with, almost 80% deaths occurring should be recorded. Then, how conducted? There could be some countries which have conducted, census counting of the population, exact population in last 10 years. That also should be noted. Next is how conducted housing census in last 10 years. First is birth, next is death, next is census population counting, and fourth is how many people have the housing. These 4 pointers are very important, so that everybody has food, shelter, and job and education, health system, and right to freedom of speech, and have a proper legal system, living system, and they should be able to live life full of life. That is what my poem is. They should be able to live life fully, but within the framework of humanity only. Okay, now, so these are the 17 goals and 169 targets. They one goals and targets and indicators, we have seen all this. They all, if implemented, can make human life and life on mother earth, at par with the heavens. Someday I say that 17 goals are implemented, they can make sustainable goals a reality, because this is one of the best framework, human framework, that has been developed by so many wise men and most intelligent and genius people around the world. We should support it. All the spiritual organizations, all the religious organizations, all the economic organizations, and all the influencing people should come together and let us support, so that if we have a proper base on Mother Earth, sustainable, then we can also sustain other places. Otherwise, the way we are exploiting Mother Earth 1.8 times once data came, means twice almost exploiting Mother Earth with its resources, then we might be called the parasites. Anywhere we go, we'll be parasites. So we should not be like that. We should be wise, super species on Mother Earth and beyond. And as I said earlier, we should, if we face any other alien civilization, maybe type 1, type 2, or type 3, if we go to Moon, Mars and beyond, it will be at par with something with them when we talk to them in future. I hope you agree on all these things. I just want to add, let us make universal goals. Robert's triads, Newland's octave, and then Mendeleev's table was there, and then modern periodic table came out. Similarly, MDG were there, sustainable development goals are there, and some other goals will come. But I am suggesting here, like the modern periodic table, or maybe the the most advanced universal goals right now, because going to moon, Mars and beyond will require that kind of things so that humanity survives in all the dimensions. May God bless humanity. सर्वेपि सुखिनः सन्तु, सर्वे सन्तु निरामया, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखमाप्नुयात्. गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरा, गुरु साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः. I offer my services at the feet of humanity, the God, the Almighty, the God existing in infinite universes. Thank you very much. If you have any suggestions, kindly let me know. As per one suggestion, I have taken this video in 9:16 in FHD. So, thank you very much. God bless humanity.